Hi everyone, how are you doing? So today I'm doing a review of Wonder Boy the Dragon's Trap. So this is a reimagining of a classic that was released in 1989. So I'm going to talk about the gameplay, the graphics, the sound. I'm going to talk about good points, the bad points, and give you my overall thoughts and opinions on the game. So sit back and relax and enjoy the video. So the original Wonder Boy game was actually released back in 1989 on the Sega Master System by a developer called Westone. This new version is actually brought to us by a company called Lizard Cube, which are based in Paris in France. And you actually play as either Wonder Boy or Wonder Girl. Now in the original game you can only play as Wonder Boy, so they've updated it by giving you the option to have a male or a female character. And after you start the game, you actually fight your way through a small level and face a Meka-Dragon, which is a half dragon, half mechanised version of the creature itself. And once you vanquish it, you end up cursed and transformed into a half human, half lizard creature which can shoot fireballs from its mouth. From there you actually start the game properly, so you end up travelling Monsterland and you fight through different monsters and fight other dragons, which then also curse you even further and turn you into other various half human, half animalistic creatures. I'm going to talk about the actual gameplay now. So Wonder Boy the Dragon's Trap is a side-scrolling action adventure, and it's probably a really early form of RPG. So as you travel the various areas in Monsterland, you'll fight monsters and you can attack them with a sword or block their attacks with a shield, or if you're actually fighting as the half lizard, half human creature, you can shoot fireballs and kill them that way. So as you travel through the world, you can actually attack them, as I mentioned, or you can jump over them if you plan your jumps and movements carefully. But you'll find that as you encounter different enemies, you actually see different versions of them, so they tend to come in different colours. So they start off with relatively easy, you can kill them in 1 or 2 hits, and different coloured versions of the monsters you fight will become stronger and stronger until you get better weapons and armour. So you can use special weapons and items as well to actually fight the monsters. So an example is you can use an arrow that shoots upwards, you can use a fireball which you can throw if you're not playing as the half lizard creature. You can also use lightning bolts, and all these help you destroy your enemies and damage them. You can use things like a little whirlwind that fires out and knocks enemies back. You can buy new weapons and armour from an eye patch wearing pig. So as you go through the different areas, you can either find hidden shops or ones which are fully revealed, and you exchange gold for different weapons and armour. And the weapons and armour don't really do anything cosmetically, but they do boost your attack and defense statistics, so that makes a big difference, because when you first start the game it's quite easy for you to die, especially even with the low level enemies. But as you get stronger, you'll find that these enemies, even if they do hit you, don't really take much health off you. But as you go into the different areas and later stages of the game, the enemies do hit quite hard, so you do want to have the better weapons and armour to both destroy them easier, but also so you can survive a lot longer. And you can also buy healing items, so you can actually restore your health, or you can buy potions, and the potions act as extra lives in a way. So if you've got, say, 5 potions and you run out of hearts in the game, you actually respawn straight away in the same area, and you can carry on until you run out of potions. If you run out of potions completely, or you have none at all, then you have to start back in the hub area from the area where you first started. But you don't lose all your progress, because the game auto saves very frequently. It will save all your new weapons and gear and any unlocked abilities. It just means you have to get back to the stage of where you died. Now the way you actually get new weapons and armour and items is each time you kill enemies and bosses, you'll find coins that will come out. So you collect coins, or you can actually find hidden treasure chests in rooms which will give you items and coins, and that's where you actually use that to buy new weapons and gear. As you explore the levels as well, you can actually increase your health points. So as you start off with the game with a couple of heart points, but as you go through the different areas, you can unlock chests which will give you another heart capsule, and that just boosts your health. And as you turn into different creatures, you'll find areas which are not accessible in some form. So for example, the mouse creature can actually climb upside walls, so there's some areas where you can only reach using the mouse, or some areas where you can only reach using, say, the Piranha man who can swim. And as you go through that allows you to access new areas and new challenges, but also it allows you to find new sort of hidden rooms and treasure chests. So you fight monsters, as I mentioned, so they come in different forms and different colours. So as I mentioned briefly, they get stronger and more colourful as you fight through the areas. But you also fight dragon bosses, so the dragon bosses will come at various areas in the game, and you have to kill them by attacking them on the head. So the actual battles themselves are kind of basically a set of memorising when to dodge and jump and when to actually exploit that moment to attack. So you have to figure out the attack patterns of the bosses, and then once you've figured them out, you learn to strike its head. If you attack the boss in any other area, it doesn't do any damage, and if a boss actually hits you with its attacks or just moves into you, you lose health. So some of the bosses are easier than others. As you get new weapons in the army, you can survive a lot longer against them, and once you've defeated each boss, you'll then be transformed into a new type of creature. And then from that point on, you end up back in the beginning of the hub world, and then you can try and find the new areas to explore. Now, there's actually a section that opens up later in the game where you can actually find a secret room which allows you to change which transformation you need to be, and that will become more apparent as you find certain areas that you explore that you can't initially seem to get to, or can't see how you go any further. So that the main points where you actually have to go back and transform into different creatures so that you can progress and unlock the new areas of the world. I'm going to talk about the graphics now on Wonder Boy. So the new version, the graphics are very cartoonish and hand-drawn, but very beautiful to look at, and the colours are very bright and vibrant, and the animations are quite smooth, not only with your character as he moves around, or she if you're playing as Wonder Girl, but the enemies and monsters that you fight. The actual worlds are brought to life, and there's quite a lot of detail going on in the background. The sky's being filled in. There's a lot of additional features which aren't in the original game, and it's quite easy to compare the two because you can switch between the modern graphics and the 8-bit graphics at any point just by a flick of a button or a key, depending on what format you're playing the game. And when you go back to the 8-bit graphics, it's good for for a bit of nostalgia, but compared to the new look of the game, is a lot more easy on your eyes and easier to look at, and you can see there's quite a lot of difference in terms of little extras in the areas. So you might see small fires, debris, whereas if you go back to the original, we didn't have the graphical power to put as much detail on at the time, so it's nice to see the contrast between the two. But the option to go between the new version of the graphics and the old one is very good, especially if we're looking at say a nostalgic way, because I played the original when I was a small child. I can still remember how it looked, and going back and forth between the two, it's nice. So you can mix it up, or you can play in the new or the old version, depending on which you prefer. So the music in this game's been re-recorded. So the original music was obviously 8-bit back in 1989 when it first came out, and it was actually composed by Shinichi Sakamoto when the game was developed. But the new version has actually been re-recorded and brought up to date using classical instruments. Now you can switch back and forth between 8-bit and modern soundtracks at any point. On the modern soundtrack you can hear obviously stereo, the more up to date instruments, and there's a lot more sound effects and depth in the creatures that you actually fight, the sound effects from your hero, and just the general environment itself, and the whole soundtrack is being done quite beautifully. And when you're moving around the levels you can hear the music throughout, and it's quite upbeat, and it does have obviously a kick back to the original soundtrack, but with a more modern edge to it. It does that bring up to today's standards in terms of music composition. So I'm going to talk about the good points now. So first of all, the actual gameplay is very challenging. So although you've got the hand-drawn graphics which look quite cartoonish and childlike, the actual gameplay involves a series of memory and skill. So you've got to memorise certain areas of the game so you know where to go when you change between different creature types, but also memorising boss move patterns so that you can take the opportunity to strike the dragons. Also the enemy movement so you know when to strike, when to evade. But also just generally getting the timing right, because you've got areas where you've got to jump over obstacles, avoid enemies, things that are going to be projectiles that are coming to you. So although it does look quite childlike, it can be quite hard at times. And I think going back to the early days of gameplay when you only had like basic inputs, it does bring you back that you have to memorise quite a lot of where to go and what to do. And half the challenge is obviously having the right timing in terms of how much you put into the controls and making sure you move and jump at the right time, but also memorising where you need to go. The actual world design is quite varied, so the enemies generally change colours, so you've got the basic ones that start off red, they tend to be quite easy. Then you've got green versions, which are a bit hard, and then you've got blue ones which take even more hits. But the dragon bosses you fight are, nice and varied, quite colourful. There's a lot of exploration to do in the game, so you've got areas that are only accessible when you transform into different creatures. There's also hidden areas, so you can find either items, hidden vendors, and those will change depending on what creature you transformed into. And there's certain points where you can have to backtrack to go to certain areas you could only access with one creature, so you might have to open up a area and then go back, change to another creature, and then you can access an even more hidden part of that level. So there's quite a lot of back and forth movement going on, and that's part of where the memory aspect comes into it as well, so you're remembering where to go. The actual game doesn't really hold your hand as much. You do get some very cryptic clues from the hub area, the village, but they don't really tell you much in terms of where to go. A lot of it is down to your own memory, but because the world isn't that large as such, you can remember where to go once you figure it out. The controls are quite simple, so compared to what you get nowadays where there's multiple inputs either from buttons or keys depending on what format you're playing the game on and what console or PC. The actual controls are stripped back now, so you've got basic jump, attack, use your items, and you've got an inventory menu, and then you got an extra key just to change between 8-bit and modern day graphics and sound. The actual views in terms of the graphics are good to look at, so they're very bright, colourful, they're quite eye-catching and striking. And the game's quite reasonably priced as well. It doesn't cost that much, for an indie development. Overall, there's quite a lot to had in the game, but I think one of the things that does stand out as well is it's accessible for all ages, so it's not just aimed at children, adults can enjoy it as well, because we've got the challenging aspects I think older gamers will appreciate, but also the colourful sort of cartoonish look at probably drawing younger gamers as well. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that are a bit of a letdown in the game now. So I think if you compare the game in terms of modern games, the actual story is very lax. So at the time when the game first came out in 1989, all games of that era were all text based and there was very little story because it was mainly about the gameplay itself, and that's still true now. The initial dialogue and that you get on screen through the text play just kind of sets the scene and lets you go off on your own. But if you're looking for a game where you're going to have a lot of lore or dialogue, where even if it's just text based, you're not going to get that in this game. So if you're thinking it's going to be similar to say the Zelda games, you're not really going to get that, so you might be a little disappointed there. I personally don't mind it, but I think for older games and perhaps more modern games who've never played the original, younger ones than I, they're going to be a little disappointed there. Now I mentioned the controls are simplified, so they are stripped back compared to more modern games, but they do seem a little bit unresponsive at times. Now I don't know if that's done intentionally to try and mirror how the games were back when they first came out in the 80s. They were a little bit unresponsive there, but it does add a little bit of frustration sometimes when you're trying to plan a jump or avoid an enemy, and it's there's a very slight lag between the input and then the action on screen. It's only a minor thing, but it can be a little bit frustrating. And I think if a game is really short on patience, because this game requires a lot of memory in terms of knowing when enemies come and how to avoid them if you're not attacking it, you will find that a bit annoying. Overall, this game is quite an enjoyable experience, especially if you're going down memory lane like I did. When I played the game when it first came out, I was only very small, and playing it now as a grown up, you got the nostalgia aspect there. But I think even if you've never played the original, if you're a lot younger, you're still going to enjoy the game because it's open to all ages and there's enjoyable gameplay all round. I think graphics and the simplified controls are a nice change of pace compared to a lot of modern games. They're stripped back, and it's nice, so you only got some basic inputs. It's just a nice little refreshing change almost from the complexity of modern games. The option between switching from 8-bit modes, not just graphically but also audio, going between the sound and the actual graphics, that's a nice little sort of feather in the cap. Going between the two modes satisfies both camps. People want to see the modern sort of revive game itself, but also people want to see what it's like when it first came out in the 80s. You've got a lot of options there going back and forth between the two. That way you're not going to get too bored of the appearance, and if you do want to look at the old one, you can see how the new one, it just shines strongly when you compare the two. Overall, I think if I'm going to give a game a score, say out of 10 for example, I'd say I'd give it a good 7 out of 10. You got a lot there. You got the graphics, the bright, colourful, the music's nice. It's been re-recorded. Got all ages in terms of the ability to play. It'll appeal to a wide audience. You got the nostalgia for people who played the original back in the game. But overall, it's a nice game and it's a good little indie development. And it's not a big price tag on the game itself. And that's definitely recommend this game. And I look forward to any future games that come out by Lizard Cube, the developers. Well, that's it for this review of Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe, and that way you'll never miss any new videos. I'll check in with you guys later on, but thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.